Hello folks, this is Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing. I want to talk about these clay discs, right? What's more important? What's really the best way to clay a vehicle? Do you want to clay a vehicle by machine or by hand? By the way, you can use these clay discs by hand as well, but I want to talk about the process of using a DA as your method or means of claying the vehicle. I'm going to make fun of my industry a little bit. Not that I do that, right? Holy crap, Scott, you've never done that before. When you use these clay discs, this is really important, folks. Yes, they're very durable. They'll last longer than a clay bar. But what's really important is that when these things start to go bad, it doesn't necessarily tell you it's going to go bad and kind of warn you. What will happen when you've used this thing for a period of time on several cars or however, they say they last, I don't know, you can use them for 45 or 50 cars. But here's what's going to happen. Say this was attached to the machine, the DA, and I'm claying the surface of this hood, and I'm using some type of lubricant, right? I'm fighting the cord, I'm holding this machine, I'm trying to spray a lubricant and get over the surface. What's going to happen when this clay disc decides it's no longer good, what it does instantly on the surface of the paint is mar the paint. You may not see it because what's happening is you've got fluid all over the hood, you've got water, you've got your clay lubricant. You may not see it because the water and lubricant are kind of disguising, it kind of makes the panel shiny. But once you dry the paint, you'll go, oh, my clay disc just marred the living crap out of this car. You may not see it right away. That's potentially dangerous. The other thing, as a mobile detailer, take a look on the ground, right? There's water all over the side of this car from me washing my vehicle. The last thing I want to do is drag a DA that's plugged into the wall and working around this car because I'm mobile. I'll be working in a driveway. I might not be able to move the vehicle. I got to keep it right here where it's at. The last thing I want to do is have this cord attached to an outlet with me standing in that water and running this machine. The other thing with the DA, using this clay disc on a DA, you start to get, it really becomes limited getting into tight spots. You can try to move this mirror and get in areas that are really tight, but you're going to be fighting the cord, fighting the machine, having a lubricant in your hand at the same time. It just will drive you nuts. It's not the best way to clay a vehicle. It looked great on paper. A lot of people fell in love with it. I don't know, I'm not sure how many people use this type of method, but what's really cool is I can remove this from this machine. Now, what's really important when it comes to claying your vehicle, you want to have sense of touch. You also want to hear the bonded contaminants you're taking off the paint. When it's attached to a DA, you've got a lot of vibration, right? You also can hear this thing removing the bonded contaminants. So you might be indirectly hanging in one area on the panel for far too long because you're like, I don't know, did I get it? I can't feel resistance. I can't hear me taking the bonded contaminants off. It's such a silly idea by my industry to put these things on a DA. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and dip that disc. Now that disc is going to be held in my hand, right? The car's wet. I've been talking, so I'll just make sure the car's wet because I just washed it. Now I want to clay it. I'm going to take this clay disc that's been soaking in a gallon of water and a favorite clay lubricant like a rinseless wash, 1 ounce per gallon. I'm going to take this thing and now lightly go over the surface of the paint. Now I can hear, now I can feel what I'm removing from the paint. I can also manipulate this clay disc and get in tight areas where the DA was limiting me from being able to do that. Folks, these things are cool, but you gotta, there's a warning to these things. Once they start to give up the ghost, they'll mar the paint quickly. The other thing that you want to do, in my opinion, if you use a clay disc, even by hand, you will find, if you take a look at the paint after you dry it, you will most likely see more marring with these synthetic clay discs or towels than a traditional clay bar. You most likely, in my opinion, want to reserve these for, which makes it very effective, makes it faster, makes it easier, but I typically only reserve it when I know I'm going to be doing some form of paint correction after. The other thing you want to keep in mind, when you buy these clay discs brand new or a clay towel, they'll have a protective membrane on the front of this rubber disc, whatever the synthetic material is. You want to make sure before you use it on the paint, you want to break in that clay disc on all the glass surfaces around this car. Go ahead and remove bonded contaminants off the glass. Go ahead and rinse the panel, move on to the next glass. You want to remove that protective membrane, because if you don't and you use it on the paint first, I can promise you, you're going to see some marring almost instantly. Folks, I just wanted to share that with you. I like these clay discs. Don't like them attached to the DA because you lose sense of touch, hearing, high risk of marring the paint. Also, it limits you where you can get in tight areas with it. Much easier. By the time I'm plugging in the machine, getting it all set up, I can start claying this vehicle pretty quickly with this process, and I can manipulate it by squeezing it and getting it in tighter areas where the DA limits me. Not the greatest. I mean, my industry said, wow, it looked great on paper. But in the real world, attaching these things to a DA, using it on the vehicle, in my opinion, they slow you down. They raise the risk of marring the paint. They limit you quite a bit for tight areas. I'd rather you just hold this thing in your hand, be careful with it. Once you feel the surface is slick, you've removed all those contaminants, move out of that area. These things will mar the paint, in my opinion, more than a traditional clay bar. I typically only use these if I'm going to do some form of paint correction after. I don't ever attach them to a DA. Just my opinion. Love you all. Talk to you soon.